Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea. Today I want to talk about gun control. What actually is it that they're trying to control? They want to take away my guns, they want to take away your guns, because they want to stop the gun violence. All right, so let's dive into this, okay? In 2021, there's 693 mass shootings in this country. That's terrible. Everybody agrees with that. Nobody would, in their right mind, would say that's, a good thing. There was a total of 702 of them were killed. And in addition to that, there was 2,844 injured by gun violence. So because of that terrible numbers, Biden wants to rescue the American public, taking away the guns to stop the violence. But in 2021, there was 108,000 overdoses from drugs in this country, and 71,000 of them were from fentanyl in 2021. 71,000 from fentanyl. And you compare that to 702 killed by gun violence. Do you ever hear Joe Biden going against the cartels in Mexico or China to stop the fentanyl? Do you ever hear him talk about that? That's real numbers right there. The gun violence is bad, that's true. We got to figure out something to do with that. But taking away my gun and taking away your gun, that's not going to do anything. Because they want to talk about defunding the police. Take the police away from you. Think about this. Take the police away from you and take your guns away from you. And who's going to protect you? Aha! The federal government. The federal government, they plan to, when the shit hits the fan and people are out in the streets, they're going to have to restore order. Oh my God, things are bad. We got to restore order. In order to do that, to bring federal troops, and because of, I think it's called Posse Comitatus, you can't use federal troops on the United States soil, so they would have to suspend the Constitution in order to do that. And then they would have to declare martial law. Then they'd be coming after all of us, and the people that are coming after us have all these armored ATVs and armored vans and armored trucks, bulletproof vests, automatic weapons, and all kinds of nasty technology to come after us. And we can't defend ourselves against that. But no, let's take our guns away, and the legal gun owners take their guns away, our guns away. So let me ask you a question. All the violence that's going on in Chicago and Baltimore and Los Angeles and these other cities, all this gun violence where thousands of African Americans were killed in the streets last year. In Chicago alone, do you ever hear about that Beetlejuice mayor, what's her name, Lori Lightfoot? I call her Beetlejuice. You ever hear her talking about the violence that's killing all of these African Americans in the streets? Do you think those people bought their guns legally? You think they bought their guns legally? Part of the 702 people that were killed last year were probably in some of those numbers also. You think they bought their guns legally? No. And the old saying used to be when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s was, if guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns. I'll say it again. Keep in mind that the Second Amendment was to protect you from a tyrannical government, not from your neighbors. Not from your neighbors. So we got to figure out. And by the way, Mr. Joe Biden, directly, I'm going to talk to you. Would you stop sending American hard-earned dollars to all these other countries before you fix the problems in this country? There's veterans who served this country and stood in front of bullets for me and you to protect us, sleeping on the streets in cold and rain and snow and all kinds of bad weather. Sleeping on the streets because they have no money, no place to go. There's a problem there. But no, you want to send the money over to Africa, and you want to send the money over to Ukraine, and you want to send it down south because you made some kind of stupid deal with Venezuela for their oil. Well, you think we don't know about that? We know about that. Stop sending our hard-earned dollars over there until you fix the problems over here. And close the damn border. You know, your department right now, the government departments are trying to stop Arizona from building the border wall with shipping containers. The governor, I think it was down there, was building the gaps in the border wall with shipping containers, and you're trying to stop him from doing that? Why? Why? Because you want to build a population of Latino Americans in this country for a voting bloc. But while you're allowing them to come in, there's also people, we call them the gotaways, which are coming from other countries. A lot of them are terrorists, and they want to hurt us. We know what's going on. We know you want to increase the voting bloc for the Democrat Party. But let me explain something to you, Mr. Biden. That's not going to work. Those people from these Latin American countries are good, hard-working Latino people, and they're good Christians. They believe in God. They came here for a better life. They didn't come here for the life that you're creating for Americans right now. You think they're going to want their children to be educated in schools by teachers that are talking about giving second graders sexual books and stuff like that to read, and having all these freaky transvestites dancing in front of their children in American schools? Department of Education is way out of control. They need to be disbanded completely. Do you think that Latin American people are going to want all this freaky, CRT, control, critical race theory, whatever it's called, CRT? You think they're going to want all of that? No, they came here for a better life. I just had a roof put on my house, and there was probably 8 or 10 of them, of Latinos up on my roof. I don't know how many of them are legal and how many weren't, but they're hard-working people. They came here for a better life. They're not going to vote for you. They're not going to vote for the Democrat Party once they understand what you're trying to do to our republic. And American people better understand. You better get out there, write to your congressmen, write to your senators, organize organizations in your local neighborhoods to figure out a way to fight against the takeover of this country by the globalists. By the globalists. You know, Joe Biden, he doesn't even really have all his facilities in his head. This is not only him. This is the globalists. They were talking about this stuff when I was in elementary school. They were talking about global government. That's what it's about, folks. Why do you think they're not? The stock market is going way up sometimes because, but over in China, over there, all these people are slaves, and they live in these barracks basically, where they're stacked up in beds like cordwood at night. Then they go to work in the daytime, make peanuts, and then they have to pay the government for the housing that they're living in, even though they're only making slave labor. But all these big globalists are making all this money. These globalists, and a lot of them are Americans, they have no loyalty to the American flag at all. They have loyalty to the dollar, which, by the way, may be overrun by the Chinese currency. The dollar may lose its standing because of what's going on right now. Folks, it doesn't take rocket science to figure it out. If I was the president, and hopefully Donald Trump will be again, if I was the president, I would go over to talk to China and I'd tell them, you better stop the chemicals from coming over into Mexico. And the Mexican cartels, we're at war with them. But they're the only ones fighting the war. They're killing us. They're killing us. And this whole COVID thing, what a bunch of shit. What a bunch of shit. You know, in the height of COVID, you had Governor Cuomo out there saying that the hospitals are being overrun. They couldn't, and there was refrigerated trucks out in the streets with bodies stacked up in there like cordwood because they didn't know what to do with the dead bodies. But when Donald Trump came out there and gave the hospital ship off the coast of New York and Los Angeles, and they converted the Jacob Javits Convention Center ventilation system and converted that into a hospital with thousands of beds. And I think it was Falwell created a hospital in Central Park with thousands of beds. and they all went unused. They all went unused. How is that? They were overrun, supposedly, in the hospitals. And to make things look really, really bad, they took people that did have COVID, that were sick with COVID, and they stuck them into nursing homes. And oh my God, the people are dying in the nursing homes. And you couldn't even visit your family members in the nursing homes because of the COVID. In their last days on earth, you couldn't even visit with them. You think it was because they were worried about you bringing more COVID in there? No, because they're the ones who brought the patients in there with the COVID in the first place. What they were worried about is that you might find out what's really going on. That's what they were worried about. This COVID is a bunch of shit. Is it killing people? Sure. But so is the flu. It's been around for thousands of years. So I don't know what all the answers are, but we better get a handle on this, because this, and you Republicans that were elected, that are going to be taking office right now, in a couple more weeks in January, you better keep your word to the American people. You don't get in there and start taking all the money from all these lobbyists and then shut down. We need to find out what happens, what the inner workings of what happened with the deep state. And if Trump doesn't win the nomination and DeSantis does, I'll vote for DeSantis if he wins the nomination. But my plan is to vote for Donald Trump. There's an interview that Donald Trump did with David Letterman back in the 80s. I think it was the 80s or early 90s. Look it up. On that interview, he said a lot of the things that he said today, a lot of the things he said when he was in office, and he fought against the deep state. And he understood the deep state, but I don't think he truly understood the depth of it. And he went in there with a scalpel and tried to surgically remove some of these people out of the head of these intelligence organizations and stuff. But it was just too powerful for him. He's not going to go in there with a scalpel next time. If he takes office again, he's going to go there with a chainsaw and he's going to cut the head off the snake. And all these intelligence agencies are going to find out what's going on. The CIA, the FBI, Department of State, they're all sold out to United States citizens. You sold us out because you're not investigating any of this stuff. You're not. Joe Biden and Hunter Biden are running around free. And I even heard people say that the Bidens are making money from the cartels, from the people coming over here in Mexico. I don't know if that's true or not. I'll put my tinfoil hat on for a minute and say, well, it could be true. I don't know. That should be investigated too. But these cartels need to be shut down. This is war, folks. This is war. Well, that's it. That's all I got for you today. God bless America. God bless all of you. And let's get this right. A couple more weeks, Republicans, you better fix this.